Hello, hello, hello. Microphone check 1 2. How's everybody doing? Can you hear me loud and clear?
Of the Wabash River in Miami County.
Tonight, police confirmed that the search is over, but the big question still looms. Is it connected to the murders of Abby and Libby in Delphi? My teammate's Richard Essex is on the case for us again tonight.
A spokesperson for the Indiana State Police told me that the search of the Wabash River has concluded. This is the first time the state police has actually acknowledged that they were searching, but they wouldn't say what they were looking for.
Anya Kane and Kevin Greenlee of the podcast Murder Sheet are following every development related to the murder of Libby German and Abby Williams. It is believed the exhaustive search of the Wabash River in Peru is related to that case. The search began August 19th. The same day, a court allowed Indiana State Police to take custody of Kegan Kline as suspect in the Anthony Schatz child porn case that is linked to the Delphi murders.
Obviously, Indiana State Police did not go on the record saying that, but we had sources who did tell us that it was Delphi related.
The progress of the search is marked by the team with poles and stakes driven into the river bottom. The lion's share of the search was conducted by hand. We did see a few people with metal detectors. Under the bridge, we did see a pile of metal and other objects collected by the team, but still no explanation from state police what they were looking for or if they found anything.
We feel the Indiana State Police, not just in the terms of this water search, but throughout the whole Delphi investigation, have poured almost unlimited amounts of resources into the case. And one of the things that got us interested in this case was we believe the Indiana State Police, like any other governmental agency, needs to be held accountable to the people of Indiana.
I reached out to Kegan Kline's lawyer with a number of questions concerning the search. He responded with, "Thank you for the email, Richard. I have no comment at this time."
As of today, police have not announced any arrests associated with the Delphi murders. Kegan Kline is due in court in late October on 30 child pornography charges. In Indianapolis, Richard Essex, Wish TV.
Well, what is up, everybody? Welcome to another Sleuth Intuition Live. Thanks for coming. Thanks for stopping by. And we are going to be covering the Delphi double homicide. So basically, when you are hanging out on my channel, you're just kind of coming with me along the ride on this, I guess, obsession roller coaster. Something about the case. Like I tell you guys all the time, it was basically the straw that broke the camel's back for me. it felt so real. You know, usually you look at these types of cases and you kind of have a separation. For some reason, when I saw those girls and I looked at my girls, and it was just real for the first time. You know, even for a little bit. You know, nothing like what the families are going through, but for a split second, um, I felt like it could have been anybody. It could have been me. It could have been you guys. So we're going to continue to do what we think is right. If we're going to be looking at the case, we're going to be joining these Facebooks. We all know that we want justice, not only for Delphi and not only for Abby and Libby, but really for ourselves. If we don't get justice in this case, will there be justice if something like this is to happen to us? You know, what kind of tools does law enforcement have? What type of education is out there? Awareness? What are we doing to prevent these kinds of things? I mean, it's just such a horrible thing to have to even talk about. Jerry, thank you for the super chat. Says thanks, Sleuth, for always bringing the passion and attention to this case. Got 2 little girls myself, and this whole story bothers me to my core. When I was a young kid, I had all the freedoms in the world. You know, there was a couple of attempted abductions. I lived in a really big city, right smack dab, you know, in the hood. But we were allowed to walk a mile, almost 2 miles to and from school, elementary school. We jumped on our bikes and grouped up with, you know, the other 4 or 5 kids that lived, you know, in the close proximity, and went and got into shenanigans all the way up until I was 14. But I was a bad kid when I was in the age of 14. I was running with gangs. I was stealing vehicles, you know. I was doing all the bad stuff that you can do. I was around a lot of bad people. If it wasn't for football at the time in sports, they really saved my life. So parents, you know, that could be a very good supplement to whatever it is that your kids are doing now. You know, sports, it kind of created a foundation, taught me about good health, taught me about achieving goals. Getting past, you know, things that are hard, and teach you a lot of lessons very quickly. Kegan probably lied to get some McDonald's. I mean, there's been a few cases where people have lied to get out for the day, but usually it's half truths. Like they might lie, like, oh, well, actually it's over here, not over there. Now that I've gotten everything that I wanted and milked it, it's actually right here. Todd, I mean, my mind tries to go there and it's just like hits a brick wall. It's like it won't even fathom. I mean, how is that even possible? How can somebody come into your life and just basically like crush it? What's up, Pam? Being cliquish like so many other creators are starting to be and putting all the info out there. Yeah, I'm starting to separate myself from all of that. You know, sometimes you want to be with like-minded people. You know, there is some strength in that, but sometimes you just got to stand alone. But it's good to have people that you can reach out to, that you do trust. Sila Stingy says, evening. I just find it so sad Libby managed to film him and it's still not solved. Yeah, I mean, is that really the best image? So many weird nuances going on with the information that's been given out by law enforcement. I keep thinking of the tire iron in the pictures. Early rumors circulated that the girls had bagel-shaped bruises found. Does anyone else remember this? I'll research to source it this afternoon. Well, I think mainly the whole tire iron thing comes from the pareidolia on the image. It looks like he has something shoved down his pant leg or something long, linear. And then when they pull up, a tire iron, boom, your rumor is created and, thoughts start flying. But honestly, I'm not sure. I haven't heard that rumor. The only rumor I heard about was in regards to bite marks. And we all know from the affidavit about some incidents with TK. I think biting his ex-wife or something crazy. Yeah, how is this guy walking around? I mean, has he done it again? Did he do it before? Did somehow we let this happen again? Was this the second time? I mean, it feels weird to put all your eggs in one basket, with Kegan Kline and all of that. Because you take all this information, it seems like you've already tried and convicted him in your mind, and you don't have any real solid information. I mean, at least when it comes to Tony Kline. Right now, everything seems to be pointing at this Kegan Kline person. Maybe more capable and more dangerous than what we originally suspected. Who knows? We're going to find out soon, hopefully. The way I wanted to do today's layout, so we're going to go over some local to Indiana, similar cases involving csam and some similar behavior, kind of reminiscent of Kegan Kline. We're going to look at those two cases. They're very recent. I think they happened within the last 3 or 4 days, just to see if we can learn anything from it. We will then go into the whole hitchhiker thing and how that originated and why law enforcement was asking questions in regards to the hitchhiker scenario early on. And like I said, this might be stuff that you guys have seen before and that you've debunked and that you're not interested in any longer. But like I said, this channel, you're basically just coming along for the ride. This is the stuff that I've been looking into the last couple of days. As I'm looking into it, I document it, throw it in a folder. I say, hey, I'm going to share this with my channel. This is a good thing, to talk about. And not only that, I want to get other people's opinion. I want to know where I am at, with my thought process. Where does it line up with the consensus? Is everybody in agreement with certain things? Because chasing facts seems to be the hardest thing in this case. Those are the hardest things to figure out. Hey, Boston. What was going on in his head to kill them? Why would anybody protect his identity? Well, the only reason somebody would protect this person is because they're evil as well. I mean, think about what kind of mind state and lifestyle you got to live to go do something like this in broad daylight. I mean, you are surrounded by evil from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed. All the information coming from Kegan Kline's phones. And this is, we're already assuming that this person's guilty. We don't know. But if the evidence points at this person, and if the evidence is correct and we're right about that assumption, it's safe to say that Kegan Kline if you look at, before I lose this thought, in the transcript, not in the transcript, in the police, in the arrest affidavit, no, in the probable cause affidavit, sorry. I just had my coffee, so I'm kind of running on high here. It states that Emily Ann basically would lie, right? It's Kegan Kline would lie to a young girl and say, "Yeah, I'm Keegan's stepsister, and I slept with my father and my brother." But it's really Kegan Kline saying this nasty shit, right? To get her to put herself in that thought process, like, well, then maybe now I can sleep with your brother, convince you to sleep with the brother and the father. But what struck me and stuck out to me was the fact that he's including, and I know it's not common for father and son to do these types of things, but he's including his father, or his father is including him in this fantasy, which is really weird. So if they're going to do that in 2016, maybe somehow this is some weird father-son thing, which makes it even that much more twisted. Just trying to catch up here on the chat. I slowed it down a little bit more. It seems to have helped. Well, it helps me kind of keep track of everything. Hey, what's up, Fig? Tugged on the heartstrings, yep. And Fig lost a family member in a similar crime, very thoughtless. So, I mean, he has great reference when it comes to what the family's going through. Like, I can handle a lot, and I have. But for some reason, when I try to bring my mind to that, it's just, I can just tell I would crumble. It makes my cheeks weak. Does that make sense? Have you ever had weak cheeks? I guess it's like trying to hold in tears. I don't know. We'll call it weak cheeks. And not in the dirty sense. Wait, Fig, I didn't get any notification. Did you drop that video? The one that you showed me? Man, that was a good video. Oh, DFN Goat, good to see you. Answering a question that Bossy put out earlier in regards to bagel-shaped marks, rumor about bagel-shaped marks being present. Says those marks are in relation to the Evansdale crimes against Elizabeth and Lyric. Known as the Evansdale murders. I think that case happened in 2012, if I'm not mistaken. Another horrible unsolved case, very similar to this Delphi case. Some people even think it may be tied together. Hey, Polygraph, Grunge Truck. With how law enforcement has been so far, I'm sure they want everything to be perfect before making an arrest. Well, I mean, if they're learning anything, if they're learning their lessons, you would assume so. They learned how to use us, social media, when they need to. Boom, put out the little bit of information and watch it run. We know Doug Carter, he dropped the Anthony Shots bait out there, and he says that it led to significant leads. So kudos to them. I mean, they're fighting the battle on all fronts, and I think the psychological front is the most important, because a lot of these killers, in my opinion, everything that they do is all this weird psychological stuff that's going on in their world. Thanks, Saul. Yes, indeed. There's a lot of politics too when you start. Communication isn't as easy as everybody says. If we just communicate, it's not that easy. Try communicating with like a narcissist, or an egomaniac. Try communicating with those people who have planned a plot against you from the beginning. You can find yourself wasting a whole lot of time. The Rockaways, hello, says, does law enforcement already know exactly who did this, but doesn't have the evidence to bring charges and may never have enough evidence? I'm really not sure. The confidence in Doug Carter's last media event, it seemed sincere. It seemed like real confidence. Like, yeah, I'm not here to rush things. Hopefully it happens, in the next 2 years before I retire. But if not, I'll just, make myself available during retirement, but it'll be somewhere around that time. So yeah, his confidence seems very real. And that might be why they're not saying so much. It might be crunch time. Now may be the time where information is very crucial. You got your guy. That's not even when it all starts. Finding the guy is nothing. Finding the guy is just your starting point. Okay, we got the guy. Now, how are you going to present to a courtroom that he committed this horrible crime? That's not going to be easy. You got to be convincing, especially when they start selecting the jury. They're not going to select somebody like me, like, oh yeah, Tony Kline, Kegan Kline, yeah, Anthony Schatz. No, they're going to be like, do you know anything about this case? They're going to be looking for people that very minimal. What's up, Jamie? Oh, what's up, Jay? The Murder Sheet did an interview with the stepbrother. He did say the guy saying down the hill did sound like Kegan Kline. Yeah. To me, it's more regional, though, because I can hear when I compare, let's say, a Ron Logan to the voice. I don't think it sounds like Ron Logan, but I can hear the similarities. It seems regional. And I always thought, I wonder, along with the location of where the bodies were found, I always wondered if the voice is another reason they thought the person was local. What's up, baby bear? And if anybody wants to call in, feel free. I did post the call-in link. If you have a question or anything like that, we might have a surprise guest towards the latter end of the show. Never know. We'll see. Bossy says, Fig, I am only a few minutes into your new video and it brought me to tears already. Yeah, that was put together well. Somebody's going to find something wrong with it, though. There's always those people. Good point, Rain Dancer. Hey, Jacqueline. Chucky. Good to see all you guys. Hope everybody's doing well. So my channel has officially reached across the globe. You guys can believe it. We have subscribers here. And this blew my mind. I went and checked out the demographics on it. It goes from Africa. We got people in Australia. We have members of the channel from India and subscribers all across Europe. So bizarre. Thanks, Teresa. It's good to see you, by the way. Teresa been laying low. Hi, Hazel. Yeah, really all we know is that around 3 p.m. on a pretty popular hiking trail, 2 girls were murdered. Well, I guess technically they were kidnapped as well. And still we don't know, was it dumb luck? This person or persons or people were able to get away with this, or was this something thought out? Were they targeted from the beginning? Recently I had a theory that the girls, they may have, well, not knowing that they were catfished. We know that Kegan Kline likes to pass off people over here or send them to another person. So they could have sent, I mean, I don't know how many girls were hanging out that night, but somebody could have been talking to somebody else over here while Libby was still confident in her connection with this Anthony Shots facade, catfish facade, or whatever you want to call it. But maybe having a side conversation over here with, let's say, the real killer, or let's say a Tony Kline, or maybe even, Kegan on another profile, talks them into sending pictures and stuff like that, maybe even setting up a Skype or something along those lines. And then the girls send fake images after they receive, a bundle of cash. Here's here's $200. We hear about the Anthony Shots money going to the girls, not coming from the girls, going to the girls. So, and this is in the search of a motive. Okay. And then putting yourself in a place of pure rage. Okay. You paid these girls all the money. Usually when you do it, you get what you ask for, and you're a sexual sadist anyway, and you're a maniac, and you're out of your mind. So now you're enraged. I paid this money. You sent me fake photos. Transcript even states, this isn't even really a nude. You're not going to send me nudes. What are you good for? That makes me also wonder if Libby was aware of what was going on and was aware that this guy, Anthony Shots, isn't just a handsome a handsome model with a lot of money and all these cars and all this stuff. At this point, if he's asking her for nude images and there's all this weird money stuff involved, I mean, why would she go meet him at the bridge? You know what I mean? But back to this theory is that whoever the killer is may have been really upset that he paid money and didn't get what he paid for. So if he's chasing some kind of high from the night before, he could still be completely out of his mind and saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to go get my photos. You're going to give me those photos. I'm going to get my photos that I paid for, hence the staging and hence all this weird stuff. Like all the things that I paid for, I'm coming to get it, So my search for motive, stumbled across that thought there. So let me know what you think about that in the chat. But I'm kind of rambling at this point. Yeah, that's a good point, Jamie. All right, just browsing through the rest of the chat comments, and then we'll get going here. Yeah, the Zion murders bogey is very strange. I know they have somebody in prison for it right now, some military guy, but there is some controversy about it. Yeah, Teresa, weird things like why are you asking for the driver of a vehicle? Like that's so strange. Wouldn't you ask, for the owner of the vehicle? And then when you find the owner of the vehicle, you most likely find the driver. They weren't concerned with the vehicle. And that feeds into the hitchhiker story that we're going to dive into here in just a minute. Because they talk about a work truck that was broken down, and the hitchhiker, what did he say? I work for my father. So if they know the vehicle and what type of business it is, they already kind of know the vehicle. And maybe they even know now where the killer might work. Hey, Michelle, good to see you. Grunstruck says if they have a confession from somebody who was there, that's huge. Well, even after the fact, like, hey, I was hanging out at this house and such and such showed up. It was the 13th, right around, it was between 3 and 4 p.m. They showed up and they were all manic and talking about they needed to hide stuff and burn stuff, So there might be somebody like that it's been eating them up inside, They come forward and say, hey, you know what? Such and such showed up. They weren't in their right mind. They were talking about hiding evidence and that they needed to go, to the Wabash River or whatever. And they didn't leave in a car. They left in foot, or, on the way home, maybe they drove over the bridge, threw some pieces over, and then when they got home, realized they needed to get rid of a lot more. What's up, Don? What's up, Tekda? Yeah, and the murder sheet seems very confident in their source. They're not, they have no reason to go around, giving out half-ass information. I just don't see them doing it. I can see them sitting down and really thinking about it, whether they should do it or not. And they're kind of coming from the perspective of, like people, citizens of the United States, basically we have rights, and if, whether you're part of the family or not, like this happened on basically in your town or your city, and you're paying your tax dollars to law enforcement to make sure that they bring justice in that, in any case that may come up. So they seem like they're coming more from that perspective. Like, look, we're going on 6 years. We have access to this information. You guys haven't released it. One of them's a lawyer. So he's probably like, there's no way that this information, they don't need to go to anybody. They can make that decision themselves. They have the expertise to do so. So they're making educated decisions about the information, not based on what the family might think, not based on what law enforcement is asking, but more based on, just as a human being, as a taxpayer, like you need to provide us with answers. Teresa says, Sleuth, my feeling on the Murder Sheet podcast is they're more caring about attention and certain information they put out. Defense attorneys will have a field day. No, they won't. You think that a defense attorney can't come up with the cockamamie theories that most of us have come up with? They don't need us to come up with theories to try to get that's their job, is to come up with ways to get we're not going to provide that. There's nothing we can do to provide them with anything unless you were at the crime scene and then you start telling everybody what was there specifically, because that's all they have to do. Okay, let's say this person in an interview room gives specific details of the crime, sexual assault, yes or no, staging and signatures. Can you identify those? Yes, to a T. Okay, time frame. Yes, very specific. Okay, and then we found this at the crime scene, and it's tied to you. That's all the jury needs to hear. None of this information is going to harm anything. Because if you really think about it, it was public at the time, so they didn't break any laws. And the information really isn't any of the information that law enforcement. I mean, think about it. They put out the Anthony Shots information. They chose to do that, right? Maybe in anticipation of what was coming from the murder sheets and HLN with that whole interview. I'm not sure. But, I mean, it's the real details that matter. The details at the crime scene. All the specifics. There's only a handful of people in the world that know. Specifically, and the killer's going to know those details. We will never have a clue. And it will probably never be put in a document for that very reason. That's why in Ron Logan's probable cause affidavit, they didn't put any details about the signatures or specific details about the staging. And we've known that the staging took place how long ago? So they're not really releasing anything really new. I think people just want to be outraged. I think that they care about the case and they need a bad guy, So to blame the murder sheet to me is just laziness. They're not our bad guys. I mean, if you keep attacking them, the work that they've put forward, they simply can just say, hey, we're going to stop. We're no longer going to share information from our sources. We're not going to stand for, the abuse online, and the faucet is turned off. So think about it. All the information that you have, all the movement in the case pretty much, was first reported by them and some of the information provided by them. I don't understand the witch hunt. But that's just my opinion. I'm not going to attack you for your opinion if you feel otherwise. And you don't have to think like me. All right. There's just no way I can keep up with the chat. It is impossible. Okay, now I'm going to share with you two very recent stories, very similar to the case that we're covering here. This one is out of Indiana News. Kokomo man accused of child molestation, threatening to whoop boy unless he smoked marijuana. This was posted September 7th. And it's coming out of Howard County. A Kokomo man was charged after investigators learned he molested children and allowed and even coerced them to smoke marijuana, according to court documents. Police in Howard County interviewed 4 children about James Phillips after an investigation involving the Department of Child Services. A female child told investigators Phillips would often ask about how she was developing and would sometimes examine her chest. She estimated Phillips touched her chest about 30 times, according to court documents. She also said Phillips had asked her to touch him inappropriately once when he was really messed up on Xanax, according to court records. Investigators claimed another girl said Phillips grabbed her breast in one incident and commented, "Oh, it's not padding." And 4 children said Phillips used drugs in front of them. Court documents alleged those drugs included Xanax, meth, cocaine, and marijuana. One of the children said that She and one of her siblings was allowed to smoke marijuana at the home. She also said she was disciplined by either being whooped by a belt or being forced to exercise for hours. When investigators talked to another child, he told them Phillips tried to get him to smoke marijuana multiple times, at one point putting a bong in his face and threatening to whoop him if he did not smoke. During his interview, he also said Phillips tried to see his privates several times, but he always refused. Phillips was charged with 2 counts of child molestation, contributing to the delinquency of a minor, as well as sexual battery and neglect of a dependent. Sorry. All right. I just want to welcome everybody who's joining us. Feel free. I did post the link to call in there at the top of the chat. So if you want to chop it up, if you have a question, anything, I just want you to feel comfortable. And you guys are always welcome to call in at any point. Teresita Hillis, do you think the Ron Logan warrant could be problematic? No, not at all. If anything, these documents put our mindset right where law enforcement wants it, away from the specifics. Digital Asset Sleuth, did you know about the red Jeep before MS released it? If so, why didn't you talk about it? No, I did not know about a red Jeep. The only thing I had as far as color was I got a message from somebody during a live stream, and I was interviewing Julian Powell, and I asked Julian, I said, what color was your car? And he said, oh, it was red with a black stripe. And then about 5-10 minutes later, I get an email, and it's like, oh, I'm from Delphi, and we heard early on that the vehicle they're looking for was red. That's all I ever heard. I didn't think anything of it. I get probably like 5 or 6 emails a day. 4 of them extremely interesting, but one will be very vague like that, something like that. And at the same time, I also heard it was like a white truck. Seems like information just seems to bend to whatever that specific person is thinking at the time, So you never know. There's that human element, that variable. All right, here's another story. This one came out on September 4th. Now, the reason I'm bringing this one up, this guy kind of reminds me of a Kegan Kline. What's up, Frank Meister? Kind of even looks like him. This one was titled, Indiana Man Arrested for Possession of Child Pornography. Craig Dalton Winchester, 27, of Austin, Indiana, is charged with 3 counts of child exploitation and 1 count of child pornography. Austin, Indiana. A Southern Indiana man was arrested for possession of child pornography after detectives received a tip from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Detectives with the Indiana State Police Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force received a cyber tip in August that indicated a specific account was possibly used to transmit child pornography images or video files. After receiving the tip, the Sellersburg Area Task Force began an investigation. That investigation led detectives to be granted a search warrant that was executed Thursday, September 1st at a home on Spicer Drive in Austin, Indiana, which is a small town in Scott County. The investigation and subsequent search led to an arrest of Craig Dalton Winchester, 27, of Austin. He was arrested Friday. Winchester is charged with 3 counts of child exploitation and 1 count of child pornography. He is held in the Scott County Jail. So very similar situation. That's a good catch by law enforcement. Yeah, there's no expectation of privacy. And as Americans and as taxpayers, you know, you guys, we all have the right to hold law enforcement accountable, related or unrelated to a crime, you know, because your family is always, there's statistics, you know, in the United States, and you don't want to become a statistic. So, in order not to become a statistic, we got to hold our law enforcement and government officials to a higher standard whenever possible. Yikes. That sounds very painful. But I agree. All right. Those are the two that I found today that man, they just popped out to me. I was like, this is extremely similar. And I'm glad that they were able to catch it. From what I understand, Dropbox, Instagram, Snapchat, I heard they're all doing pretty good as far as reporting these kinds of things. But I also heard that Apple, not so good. Yeah, why was that guy in the first story? Why was he around all these kids? That shit don't make no sense to me. Like, I hate to say it, but if my daughter came back and something like that had happened, yeah, I would be in prison. All right, let's dive into this whole hitchhiker thing and why law enforcement was interested in that. I think I may have the answer here. We covered this before, but I just wanted to go in depth a little bit more with it.
Search of the Wabash River in Miami County.
Tonight, police can.
Sorry, guys. We already watched that one. You would think my studio crew would have this stuff all put together for me, huh?
Teens were last seen alive. Today, we found a bundle of flowers near the Monon High Bridge to mark the spot. Now, this afternoon, as many as 35 investigators are looking into tips and leads that are coming in. State police say that no tip is too small in solving this case. Now, authorities tell me more than 100 tips have come in since they named this man their suspect in the double homicide yesterday. Now, this picture taken along the trail where Abby Williams and Libby German were last seen 1 week ago on the trail system east of Delphi. While they won't discuss the evidence, state police believe this is their suspect, although they still have not identified him. Police are not sure if the man remains here in Delphi, but today they tell us they are looking at several theories as to who and where he is.
We're checking all of our leads. We're asking people that, that were driving down the Hoosier Heartland that might have saw a hitchhiker or somebody walking. We're asking people that would live in Logansport all the way to Lafayette if they saw somebody around that late afternoon, that evening of Monday the 13th, if they saw somebody walking down the roadway that just did not look like they should be there, or they're just a hitchhiker, we would like to know about that person.
Now, the tip line is right there at the bottom of the screen. Now, today I spoke to a woman who was good friends with Libby German's family. I asked her how she's feeling after police named that man in the picture a suspect in this investigation. You're going to hear from her coming up tonight at 5 and 6. For now, we're live in Delphi. For the Now Indy, Mike Pelton, RTV6.
Okay, so apparently on February 15th, just a day after the bodies were discovered, there was a Facebook post by a woman basically claiming to have seen a vehicle that was broken down, and then shortly after, somebody was hitchhiking. She was unaware of it at the time because she hadn't heard of the crime. It may have even been on the 14th that this was posted, not the 15th. I'm not sure about that. But I went ahead and I found and organized everything that she had posted on Facebook, and I'm going to read it to you guys, and we're going to talk about it. All right. And this is quoting. I wanted to say that I did already call in my tip a few days after it occurred, but wanted to ask you all to try to think back to the evening of 2/13. Were any other members possibly traveling on the new 25 northbound around 8 p.m. between Lafayette and Delphi? Please search your memory, as I think I might have some real significance. I wanted to share an eerie encounter I had the evening, but I will not share exact details as of now, as I would hate to have anyone just parroting what I saw, as this will not help the investigators to look into it harder. So let me tell you in a very general terms of what I experienced. Okay, so they're basically looking for somebody heading north between Delphi and, well, here it says 8 p.m. between Lafayette and Delphi. Okay, so that's strange. If this was, let's say, a Kegan Kline or a Tony Kline, why would they be heading towards Lafayette? Wouldn't they be heading towards Logansport? But law enforcement does say between Lafayette and Logansport. So we'll revisit that question here in a minute. She goes on to say, I work in West Lafayette and was on my way home around 8 p.m. on 2/13, traveling the new 25 northbound. So heading towards Logansport. Hold on, I need some water. First, I came across a possible work vehicle with its four-way flashers on parked in the grassy median area. I say work vehicle because it had a possible logo, which I reported to the best of my memory along with the vehicle color and type. Although I still can't say for sure, even now what the make might have been, I slowed to make sure it was not an accident. I did not see anyone with the stranded vehicle in question. Okay, so basically she's describing that she passed a vehicle that looked like it was in a place where it shouldn't have been. She was even alarmed because she thought it may have been an accident. Said she drove by it, looked like a broke down work vehicle with some type of logo on it. Nobody visibly near the vehicle. Yeah, that's very possible. Or Bossy had nothing to do with that broke down vehicle, passes the vehicle, and when the lady stops, remembers the vehicle and acts like he's attached to that vehicle. But really, he's just trying to get away from a crime scene and figure out how to get back with his cohort. Yeah, I wonder if there's a lot of people that hitchhike out there. Doesn't seem like the smartest thing to do these days. Wherever, really. Okay, she goes on to say, about 2 miles farther up the road, I came across a man attempting to hitch a ride. At the time, I haven't even heard about the girl's disappearance yet because I had been at work since the morning that day. I did pull over to the shoulder of the roadway, crack my window enough to talk to him. I had even turned on my dome light to see him better. Again, to keep this general, I will only say that he was Caucasian, between 30 and 45 years old, possibly close to 6 foot, 210 to 240 pounds. While I can say that the clothes were not the same as the police suspect pick, he was wearing a light jacket over the top of a light brownish tan hoodie. See, now that part's very interesting because Kim Riley, he seems to think it's a shirt tail. That little brown thing sticking out. Now, it's a good thing she didn't pick up that hitchhiker, because if we know anything from this 70s movie, it's not always a good idea. Hey, Ann, I could be wrong, but I thought this hitchhiker tip had been investigated and determined to be non-related. If that's the case, just point us to where you heard that. They ask for money for an Uber or crack rock, or money for crack rock. Y says, what are the odds that BG was high on drugs at the time of the murders? I think it's almost a certainty. I mean, for some reason, I think it's like one of those chasing a high scenarios. Kind of like when you've been drinking all night, you wake up and you have another beer. It's like the hair of the dog. Well, drug addicts will chase a high. They can chase it for days. They just don't want to come down. Yep, Derek, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This is a scary movie. All right. She goes on after saying that she remembers a jacket over the top of a lighter brownish tan hoodie. He told me his first name only, so I'm curious, what name did he mention? So he told me his first name only, that he worked for his dad's business, had broken down, and was trying to get to his girlfriend's house in Delphi. I told him I couldn't give him a ride, but did offer to call someone for him for a tow. He told me not to worry about it, as he had already let his dad know, and that it was okay for him to continue to walk. The whole time, he never once made eye contact and had acted fidgety and extremely nervous. He also never even thanked me for stopping to check on him. To be honest, he gave me a very bad vibe and left me feeling quite shook. So, I mean, could this be a source of the younger looking sketch? Could this be part of the new direction information? She said she tipped it in. So if she would have tipped it in, it would have been around the 14th or the 15th. We had the younger looking sketch available by the 17th. Fig says, my thoughts was BG was walking down the Hoosier Heartland Highway to the CPS building and had a duffel bag, and he was mistaken for a hitchhiker and wasn't hitchhiking at all. Yeah, he may have just been escaping a crime scene. But I remember this story about this hitchhiker here being something that was very early on. So I could see your story being true, Fig, and also the story that we just quoted also being true. For example, let's say the killer is walking, not hitchhiking, appears to be a hitchhiker, passes a vehicle that's broken down on the highway, has nothing to do with that vehicle, walks another 2 miles down the street, waiting to get picked up, has an encounter with this woman, made up a quick story. We know somebody like a Kegan Kline can make up a fake story, on the drop of a dime, just drop of a hat. He's got a whole character built up and a storyline unfolding, simply by passing that vehicle. I could see somebody like a Kegan Kline making up a story and saying, "Oh, my vehicle broke down. That's my dad's company," trying to make himself seem grandiose, trying to give himself some kind of status in every scenario possible. So I could see it being a fake story, and then basically tying in with what Fig is saying here, mistaken for a hitchhiker. Okay, so he said a hitchhiker between Lafayette and Logansport. But later on, they say no, that's what law enforcement said. But the lady said heading north on the 25. So that would be heading in the direction of Peru. So that he would be walking, if he's walking north. Not sure why earlier she states from Lafayette to Delphi. That makes me think that he was walking. Well, that's interesting. I wonder if that puts him over here by the Marathon gas station. You think that's possible? I know that there's that story that ties in with somebody mentioning that his name was Aaron, and then they caught that guy, the pedophile who admitted to being a hitchhiker. But I don't know how all that information, how solid it is. Hey, what's up, Lakeside? Okay, so the final thing that we're going to talk about is how did law enforcement know that Kegan was Anthony Schatz? We all know that after the ski mask incident, they were able to connect the Anthony Schatz profile as somebody who communicated with Libby the day of. But how did they know that Anthony Schatz was Kegan Kline? They were only aware of the Anthony Schatz profile on the 20th. And then on the 25th, they're already serving a search warrant. They didn't serve a search warrant for csam. They were specifically at that Canal Street residence for the Delphi case. They just happened to find all that stuff, and I don't think they even charged him at that point because of the pedal ring. I think they needed to approach what they did next with caution, and hopefully they can explain why they did it, when it's all said and done. Hey, Tom, thanks for the super chat. Says, hello, fellow sleuth intuitioners. Hope everyone is having a great day. Thank you, sir. I'm having a wonderful day. Had my breakfast, had my coffee, a little golf practice in the backyard. So I hope you guys are having a wonderful day as well. Okay, bear with me here. Yeah, just Pam. Very close description. Moon Crystal, he did do something on this, but I think he also included that he's not 100% sure on what and how the stories tie together. I mean, it's absolutely not verified that the guy that was in Fig's video is the guy that the lady saw in this Facebook post. He just matches a lot of what was going on in that information. I think like the work truck, worked for his father's. I don't know. A lot of stuff was in there. Yeah. But a lot of the stuff we go over because it's interesting. And we know, if anything, the Canal Street search warrant, we were told by law enforcement early on that it was unrelated. I guess that's the official word at the time anyway, you know. But they were there because of the Delphi case and because of the ski mask incident. Let's see. So once the ski mask incident was reported, somebody that was connected to Kegan Kline and also Libby let law enforcement know that they were communicating with Anthony Schatz, and that was Liberty German before she was murdered. So it was at this point they were on to the Anthony Schatz profile. They said, okay, this is big. Now, my question is, how the hell did they find out it was Kegan Kline? Now, is the reason that they didn't do anything, I mean, did they potentially break the law or violate somebody's rights at that time? I mean, how else did they find out? It's either they searched somehow or somebody told them, like, hey, there is rumor that, you know, Kegan Kline is the guy behind this profile. Tom says, I've got some golf lined up for tomorrow. I vote yes. They did find something. I believe that the trip with KK in custody to their Air Force base may have been a lie detector test to validate 5-week search. Yeah, very possible. Yep, I'm going golfing this Sunday. Trying to get as much practice in before I head out. Yeah, that's what I hear, Kimmy, but I still haven't seen anything solid on it. Yeah, appreciate that, Tom. Well, we'll find out soon enough. Well, they may have even told law enforcement, hey, like, look, this Anthony Schatz person is also tied to this other person, you know, that Libby's talking to, and they were having some issues. So it might be tied in somehow. Yeah, so right here on page 146, says here, she comes home from school, sees this guy with the ski mask looking in her bedroom window directly after giving this address to Anthony Schatz. As a matter of fact, that's the incident that started everything else last time. That's how everything started last time. So that pointed to Anthony Schatz. Anthony Schatz pointed to Kegan Kline. Search warrant served for Kegan Kline for the Delphi case, not for csam. You know, we got to remember that was the reason that they were there. We're going to get into this here just in a moment. We'll save that for after we pull this up. Okay, we're going to look at the probable cause affidavit that took place on the 25th. There's a lot of things I wanted to run by you guys and get your opinion on. Okay. So I'm going to ignore the chat for a minute. Okay, the undersigned says on February 25th, 2017, the Indiana State Police and the Federal Bureau of Investigation executed a search warrant, and we know now that this is the Canal Street residence. While working ISP case, aka the Delphi murders, the FBI sent information to the ISP Cyber Crimes Unit that an adult male was soliciting female juveniles. The FBI sent information to the ISP Cyber Crimes Unit. Okay, now what he's saying is that the information from the phones came back and that this person was soliciting female juveniles utilizing the social media platforms Snapchat and Instagram. So we're going to talk about why these predators are using Snapchat and Instagram, but specifically Snapchat. Yeah, they got this search warrant off of the ski mask incident. An adult male was using the username Anthony_shots. Subpoenas were sent to Instagram and Snapchat for the Anthony Shots account information. The Instagram and Snapchat returns provide a Comcast IP address. A subpoena was sent to Comcast for the IP addresses associated with the Anthony_shots account, and they returned to the Canal Street address in Peru, Indiana. The Instagram subpoena advised the Anthony Shots account was registered on 7/20/2016, and the Snapchat return advised that the account was registered on 7/14/2016. Derek, that's a very strange story. I think I heard about that recently. Oh yeah, I've seen a couple of that guy's videos. Okay, let's continue on here. On February 25th, 2017 at approximately 12:30 p.m. So I mean, this is right after they got home. They got home, I think, at midnight or something like that. Just shortly after midnight, and then they're getting raided that afternoon. And that's probably because they got word that they were back, and then it took all morning to get that search warrant signed by a judge. The search warrant was executed on the residence by ISP, FBI, and Peru Police Department. Like they thought they were going to find something here. So we know that's Tony Kline and his son, Kegan Anthony Kline, were located in the residence. At approximately 12:35 p.m. Eastern Time, Tony was interviewed by ISP Sergeant Kunstek and FBI Special Agent Willman. Tony was read his rights and agreed to speak with investigators. Tony confirmed they had Comcast as their internet provider and it was secured network. Tony told investigators that Kegan did use Instagram and Snapchat. At approximately 1:25 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Kegan Kline was interviewed by ISP Sergeant Kunstek and FBI Special Agent Willman. Kegan was read his rights and agreed to speak with investigators. During Kegan's interview, he initially denied creating the fake social media accounts and talking to underage girls. Later in the interview, he admitted to creating the Anthony_shots profile and speaking to underage girls. Kegan told investigators he created the accounts approximately 6 months ago. Now, why did he do that? Was he was he planning to kill somebody? Kegan stated he talks to girls he knows personally and girls he doesn't know personally. So he may have even been targeting the ski mask girl before he ever targeted Libby. He may have been planning to kill somebody this entire time. Kegan stated he talks to girls he knows personally. Okay, him talking to somebody personally could be somebody that he's coveting. Usually people that become killers, it's all their fledgling killing is usually somebody they know. The girl he doesn't know and girls he doesn't know personally. Kegan stated he meets girls on Instagram. He said he knows the age of the girls he communicates with because he talks to them. Kegan stated if a girl told him she was 16 or under, he wouldn't care and would still talk to them. Kegan told investigators. He finds the girls on Instagram and then tells them to talk to him on Snapchat. Kegan admitted to speaking to approximately 15 girls that were underage and advised he probably received pictures from every one of them. So let's take a look at something before we proceed here. Okay, now why would one of these predators send somebody from Instagram over to Snapchat? I mean, couldn't you do all this catfishing just as easily on Instagram? Okay, let's see what the benefits were here for this catfish to want to send somebody from Instagram over to Snapchat. So I found it interesting. Can be time consuming to post. That's for Instagram. Facilitates easy on the go sharing. That's Snapchat. Instagram says easy to discover new content users. And Snapchat requires knowing users to follow them. Can post at a later time. Snapchat is real-time posting. Instagram is curated. Snapchat is candid. So this is probably a big factor here. Go over here to Snapchat. It's candid. They both have behind the scenes. Users can add text, draw, and geolocation overlays. Both have that option. Basic animation. This one has no content discovery tools or hashtags. So basically, if you're doing something on there, nobody can really track it. Content shared disappears within 24 hours. So it's almost like Snapchat was created for a predator. No outbound linking available. Another way to hide. Each video captures last up to 10 seconds. Perfect for these predators. Number of views, screenshots, and comments are private, so that they can manipulate multiple people without them seeing what they're up to. So we know not only are they sending them from Instagram to Snapchat, they're sending them over to Skype. Okay, because we are running out of time, let me just pull up this last page. And I did want to talk a lot about what was going on all these devices. Maybe we can go into that real quick. Let's see, which phone was it? I think it was the Galaxy S5 was the phone that he said he found. Yeah, I don't know where I put my notes. Maybe they're back here. Anyway, and it might be located here. Thank you, Melissa. Let me go through these pages real quick. That's the Apple iPhone. Okay, here it is. Okay, so the Samsung Galaxy S4. This is the one later on. He says, oh, I found it in a taxi cab, which is bullshit. Okay, Kegan Kline, this is proof that he uses burner phones. So here, the Samsung Galaxy S4. This phone was named Samsung. Was last utilized approximately June 25th, 2015. The forensic analysis showed the device was powered. So is it this one? Okay. Utilized. Kegan would have been 21 years old at the time. So it must be the S5. Yeah, these notes are in regards to what we were talking about earlier, Kegan and Tony including themselves in these weird fantasies while they're catfishing. Oh, here it is. Galaxy S5. This iPhone was named Kline Photography. Okay, why was it named Kline Photography? If he just found it. If he just found it in a taxi cab and he wanted to sell it. That's the story he sold to us in the affidavit, right? Why would you name it Kline Photography? Okay. And was factory reset on approximately February 23rd, 2017. So why would you factory reset it? Because now you want to sell it because of what you just done with it. Kegan would have been 22 years old at this time. This device was not secured with a password. There were numerous usernames and email addresses located on the phone, including redacted. I mean, who knows what those are? There were some chat messages recovered from this device from MeetMe, Facebook Messenger, and Snapchat. All the sneakiest little applications you can find. If you were going to do something illegal, and he said it was on Craigslist. He may have found the guy on Craigslist and sent him over here, like they do. Conversations that took place between February 23rd and February 25th discussed meeting people in Las Vegas and prostitution. Okay, why were they meeting people? I just have a feeling that this whole Vegas trip might play a huge part in the motivation behind this crime. Okay, so one thing I wanted to mention, and this is what got me back into the probable cause affidavit from back on the 25th of February back in 2017. Right here, it states here, there were also still images showing possible drugs and an image showing Kegan with the black handgun. All right, guys, that's all the time I have. We're going to hang out here maybe another 5-10 minutes. And then we'll have to call it. KG said in Renner, the weekend everything happened. Nothing happened on the weekend, right? There was a lot going on the weekend. Got Riley Park. You got a big sleepover, snow day, and they were just living it up. Yeah, Gretchen. It seems like that could be possible based off the information in the Ron Logan probable cause affidavit. They were looking for digital items, most likely because of the staging and whatever signatures they found. Something's going on with that for sure. Crick? It's either creek or crick. Yeah, you gotta be vigilant no matter where you are, whether it's among strangers or family. You never know. People hide their secrets. Oh, definitely. Definitely Southern. Thanks, Derek. It's always good to see you, buddy. Thank you, Tom. Derek says, lightly press that like button. Appreciate it if you did. Thank you so much. If you're catching the replay, I'm sure you can find us in the comments. Welcome to us. Yes, KK said he was looking for weed. That's bullshit. In my opinion, that's bullshit. Why are you using a burner phone and trying to sell weed on Craigslist? Something much, much more sinister. They had connections in Vegas. Ex-law enforcement. They've been mediating something. Or basically brokering a deal. You know what I mean? There's plenty of information, Annie, to lead to that. The whole stage, them looking for digital and film evidence, you know, some type of documenting, some way of documenting. Unless that's typical, I'm not sure. I'm not an expert by any means. Yeah, of course. Me too. Yeah, I'm gonna watch it right after this. Thanks, Wanda. Good to see you. Yep, geocaching, that's a good theory. Very interesting one. Not really a theory, some of it is actual. Analyst says, I think UK Red Story is old. One in culture is not that possible. Brain says, everybody's watching, but no likes. Hit the like button. Costs nothing. No, costs a little bit of effort. Thanks, everybody. I'll catch you on the next one.